But we said last week that we need, in 2026, what we really need here at Springdale, as the people of Springdale, we need a vision of life as God intended it to be. And I hope you caught just a glimpse of that vision in the last song that we sang. It is His breath in our lungs. So all that we can do is just say, great are you, Lord. I am yours. All that I have, all that I am, you are worthy. I lay my life down every day as a living sacrifice. Whatever it is, my answer to you is yes. To live as Christ. In your presence is fullness of joy. You make known to me the paths of life. In your presence, there's perfect peace. We need that vision of the life that God has for us if we're going to be the people that He's called us to be. Part of that is fulfilling the Great Commission. It's our why. It's why we're here. It's the purpose of the church. He gives us this mission to continue as He goes back to the Father. Go and make disciples. It's what we're running after. It's the why of what we're running after. But how do we do that? He doesn't leave us alone. He comes and He fills us with His Spirit, and He has taught us how to love. The Great Commandment is how we fulfill the Great Commission. Let's read those verses in Matthew chapter 22, verses 37 through 40. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And Mark adds, with all your strength. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. Then in verse 40, this is mind-blowing. All of the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Everything that you've been taught, all of the law, all of the prophets hang on these two commandments. Luke, in his gospel, he precedes these verses with the story of the Good Samaritan that Jesus shares. And we get to the end of that story, and Jesus says, go and do likewise. It's not just a good story to listen to. He says, listen, go and do. Who's my neighbor? The one who has a need in front of you that God has placed in your path. Go and do likewise. Do this and you will live. That's what life is all about. God has always been about love relationships with Him and with others. I'm going to share some words with y'all today from our missions and discipleship pastor, Ray Martinez. Do y'all know how blessed we are that he's leading the discipleship efforts here at Springdale? Let's give this man just some recognition this morning. The words that I shared last week were from a handout from him. Today, I'm going to be sharing some of the words that he has used in trainings here at Springdale just to help us get a vision of who God has created us to be, what He has for us, what the mission for us as His people here at Springdale. Again, God has always been about love relationships. Think about Adam in the garden. He is created to be in relationship with God. They are walking together in the cool of the evenings. But God looks at Adam and He says, you know what? It's not good for you to be alone. I'm going to create for you a helpmate. And so God creates Eve so that Adam can be in this relationship with his wife as well. With God, with his wife, and then He gives them children. Let's continue, and you're going to be able to fill the earth with your children. The first 4 commandments that God gives us in the Old Testament are about honoring our relationship with God. The last 6 commandments that He gives us are about protecting our relationships with others. In the New Testament, the fruit of the Spirit starts to show up from the Spirit in our lives. But where does that show up? Where does the fruit show up? It shows up in relationships. Love for whom? joy, demonstrated to whom? Peace, between whom? Patience. Who are you showing patience for? Kindness. Who are you showing kindness to? Goodness passed on to who? Faithfulness to who? Gentleness shown to whom? Self-control to honor who in your life? In 1 Corinthians 13, Paul gives us a 15-part description of love, of agape love, and all 15 of those terms are verbs. What does that tell us? Love is active. It's active. It requires more than words. It's more than a feeling. These descriptions of agape are applicable to any relationship. But in this context, he's talking about relationships within the church. Let's read those in 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient and kind. Love is not jealous or boastful or proud or rude. It does not demand its own way. It's not irritable, and it keeps no record of being wronged. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up, never loses faith, is always hopeful, and endures through every circumstance. Love will last forever. Jesus has just a few hours left with his disciples. And listen to what he shares in John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35. A new command I give you, love one another. But he doesn't stop there. He says, as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. See, Jesus has come to usher in a new kingdom, and he's going to bring a new covenant, and he's giving us a new command, and it comes with a new mission and a new pattern and a new power and a new purpose and a new paradigm. The church, the ecclesia, the called out ones for a divine purpose. What is that purpose? To make disciples, to be witnesses. And how do we do that? We do that in love relationships. Is that the vision for your life? Is that the vision for your life? Galatians 5:6, Paul writes, for in Christ Jesus, neither circumcision nor uncircumcision has any value. The only thing that counts is faith expressing itself through love. Love is the defining characteristic of the new covenant. Paul says in 1 Corinthians 14:1, let love be your highest goal. You're going to see in your chairs today, there's a handout that says walking in love as a heading. This is just a small sampling of all of the love verses in the New Testament. Some from the Old Testament, most from the New Testament. Just a few of the verses. We had a training not too long ago, and we just spent some time reading through every single one of these verses, and it was so impactful to think how important love is. It's just over and over and over. We're going to read some of those this morning, even out loud together. I've got some volunteers that I'm going to ask just to stand up and read. We want to hear the Word of God this morning together. It's alive. It's active. So, Ray, stand up this morning and read for us Ephesians 5:2. Walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us. Are you following today in Jesus' footsteps? Are you daily giving yourself to God and to others? Jordan, read for us 1 Corinthians 16:14. Everything in love. Love is how you do life. It's your lifestyle. It's a Jesus-like lifestyle. Are your daily actions motivated, reflective of your first love? Is this the vision for your life? Ryan, Colossians 3:14.
And over all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity.
As God's chosen people, are we getting up every morning and putting on love? Meredith, 1 Peter 4:8.
Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins.
Here's an interesting thought. Love is more than just being nice and friendly. See, a lot of times we kind of feel like if we're just nice, then we've done our job. This verse says to love each other deeply. Is that what your relationships look like? Sacrificial love. Chris, Luke 6:27 and 35.
But to you who are listening, I say, love your enemies,
Jesus says over in Matthew, if you love only those who love you, what reward is there for that? Even corrupt tax collectors do that much. He says, if you're kind only to your friends, how are you different from anyone else? Even the pagans do that. Do you love those who talk different than you do? That look different than you do? Think differently, behave differently. Love is not about me, it's God's love that He has for everyone. Malcolm, Ephesians 4:2.
Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love.
Love values people above being right. Do you prioritize being right or being loving? That's an important question for us today. Are you more concerned with being right or being loving? How about Steve, 2 John 1:6?
and this is love, that we walk in obedience to His commands. As you have heard from the beginning, His command is that you walk in love.
There it is again. One new command for this new covenant. A lot less complicated, but far more demanding. Walking in love. So how can you be more intentional ensuring that your actions truly reflect God's love on a daily basis? Kurt, 1 John 4:19.
We love because He first loved us.
We love because He first loved us. I choose to love you as He has loved me. Christ's love actually compels us. Again, these verses are only just a small sampling of love, the importance of love as the measure, love that proves is the evidence of my faith. It's what matters most. It's what pleases God. The measure of my love is God's greatest expression of His presence in my life. Nothing can substitute for a life of love. Listen to 1 John 4:8. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. God is love. Again, by this, not how much you know, but by this everyone will know that you're my disciples if you love one another. So why is it today, as we're talking, why is it that love proves discipleship? Why is this so important? What's so new about this command that we have received from Jesus? Well, we already said it. He added that phrase, as I have loved you. He has given us a new pattern to follow. He's modeled it for us. What does this love look like? Well, I've shown you for the last 3 years as you have followed me. We live out the love that we see in Jesus. His attitude is your attitude. His humility guides your every decision. His compassion is the way that you look at others. His purpose drives your life. His passion for people influences your relationships. His love is at the heart of your actions. Is that the vision that you have for life? Jesus aimed to start a movement that would reach the whole world, and he had 3 years to do it. And he deliberately devoted himself to 12 unschooled and ordinary men. Isn't that amazing? The God in flesh, he's going to start a new kingdom, a new movement. He's going to bring salvation to the world. I've got 3 years, and I'm just going to dedicate myself to 12 unschooled ordinary men. I'm going to invite them to come and walk with me, do life with me, learn. So why would we try to do it any other way? If this is the pattern that Jesus has given us. Not only the pattern, but also the power. Jesus says again in John 15:12, this is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. And in this chapter, in John 15, Jesus describes a connection with himself that gives us the power to love. We see that in verse 5. Let's read verse 5 together. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Apart from him, you have no power to do anything. You can't love each other as I command you to love. None of the verses that we just read, if you do not abide in me, Jesus says. See, here's kind of an important distinction for us today. Knowing about Jesus is not the same as knowing him. There's a difference between abiding in him and just learning about him. See, abiding is staying connected to God. Again, it's having this vision for the life as God intends for us, and being intentional and having the means, walking in step with the Spirit, worshiping, offering every day ourselves to his plans and his purposes, his mission. Love is a fruit of that relationship. It's actually first on the list. As I stay connected to Jesus, the Spirit produces the fruit of love in my life. We abide, and then we follow the example of Jesus. But here's just the truth. It's easier to stay at the belief level. As long as I believe right, as long as I know what's right, it's easier, and it stays up here instead of flowing out here in love relationships. Going the extra mile, sacrificing, loving the way that Jesus loved. That is really how faith is expressed. So what does this loving one another as Christ loved us look like? Let's look to what Jesus did himself. Here's one question for us. What did Jesus do? He ate with people. So are you eating with people? Listen to Mark chapter 2. While Jesus was having dinner at Levi's house, many tax collectors and sinners were eating with him and his disciples, for there were many who followed him. When the teachers of the law, who were Pharisees, saw him eating with the sinners and tax collectors, they asked his disciples, why does he eat with tax collectors and sinners? Doesn't he know who these people are? Like, why is he spending time with him? Why is he sitting at the table with him? That's how Jesus showed love. By sitting at their tables, sharing meals with outcasts, meals with the rejected, the marginalized. When was the last time you had a meal with someone who just needed a touch of Jesus' love? See, it's easy to do that with people that we like. But Jesus says, well, what good is that if we only do it with people that are easy to love? What about those that just need a touch from me. Who are those people in your life? I had the opportunity to get a letter from Chris Hall after a sermon one time. He came to me and he said, you know what, Don, I have done something as a grandfather. I have started writing letters to my grandkids. Now, for all you grandparents out there, I think this is a wonderful idea. He said, I want them to know who I am. I want them to know really more intimately who I am, what my life was like in my faith, and what that looked like. And so he started writing letters to his grandkids that they're going to receive one day. And he was kind enough not too long ago to let me have one of those letters and read one of those. And I want to share just some of what he wrote in that letter with you today. I think it describes perfectly what we're talking about today. He said back in 1980, he got a summer oil field job. He said it was hard work. He was a young man making good money, but not with the best company. Now, any of y'all know what the oil field is like, right? Yeah, so good money, maybe not the best company. He said, you know, we weren't the cleanest of guys. Our clothes were dirty. Some of us, most of us really were uneducated. There were addiction issues. They were coming from criminal backgrounds. But in the summer of 1981, they ended up in a small town in Wyoming. And on one of those Sundays, they ended up in a Church of Christ there in Wyoming. After the service, this ragtag group of men got asked to lunch. And he said they were kind of trapped, you know, when you're on rows, and so they were kind of trapped after church, and said this young couple came up to them and said, hey, you guys look new. Would you like a homemade meal? And of course, Chris accepted right away. He said the other guys got out of there as quick as they could. They were hiding in the floorboard of the truck, trying to get away from these people. So Chris accepted that lunch invitation. And then he went back on Sunday night. He went back on Wednesday night. He had lunch with a different church member every Sunday. He even had some evening meals with some of those church members during the week. He said the pastor even invited him over and fed him antelope. That sounds pretty good. He said one Sunday he got sick and missed the morning and the evening service that day. He was AWOL, and they came calling. About 30 minutes later, they came knocking on his motel room door. And what happened after that was the door opened and these church members came into his room, and they had a doctor who they knew that was on call. So they called up this doctor. He made house calls. Some ladies grabbed his dirty laundry and took it out to start washing his clothes. They stayed until the doctor came, even went and picked up his medications for him, brought him back to him at that hotel room. About a week later, the job there was done, and they moved on. And even though Chris's crew had kept their distance, they had been watching. Listen to what he wrote. He said, privately, each one came to me and asked questions about the total strangers in my interaction. No, I had never met these people before. No, I didn't pay an initiation fee. Yes, I was a stranger to them and they to me. In their world, people just did not behave like that. I got an opportunity to explain kingdom benefits. I got to explain that life in the kingdom is very different than life in the world. They just happen to have a front row seat on how people in the kingdom live, act, and behave. I've often thought about those few weeks that summer. I felt like those crew members of mine experienced real evangelism by real common people. If you were in the world, the acts of kindness given to me, a total stranger to them, did not make any sense at all. The real world is a jungle. It's a dog-eat-dog world, and it doesn't add up without ulterior motive. But in the kingdom, they each witness kingdom life for real people. I was given An opportunity to explain that life in the kingdom means you belong even when you are a stranger. Matthew 22:35, he put down, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in." And then he ended his letter, "Love, Popsy." Don't you love that? I encourage you grandparents out there to not only share those stories, write those stories down for your grandkids, but I want us to see the example today of what love in action looks like. It's as simple as that. Are we just inviting people into our lives? Are we sharing meals with people that look different than us, that maybe aren't clean, that maybe don't have their act together? Are you willing to have them at your table to eat with them like Jesus did? Going that extra mile, loving like Jesus loved. Are you spending time with people like Jesus did? In Mark 3:14, it says, "He appointed 12 that they might be with him." That they might be with him. Another version says to be his regular companions. See, I want you to just come and walk with me. This is the pattern. This is the plan. This is Jesus. He modeled it for us. I just want to spend time with you. Sharing truth, modeling relationship, walking together. Come with me. Watch me pray, love, and serve, and heal, and feed, and make wise choices. Watch how I interact with people, with the least of these. Watch how I spend time with the Father. Follow the leading of his Spirit, how I prioritize the will of the Father and his kingdom. See, I want you to learn from me. This is what I want you to do. This is what I want your life to look like. So the question becomes, who are you walking with in 2026? Who are you spending time with? Intentional friendship with someone who's also trying to follow Jesus. Brother to brother, sister to sister, on a personal one-to-one level, spiritually intentional relationships. Helping each other follow Jesus better. See, it's real simple. Here's what it looks like. You're just becoming a disciple yourself. You're following, you're learning, you're practicing the life of Jesus, and then you just offer your presence, your time to somebody else. Come with me. Come eat at my table. Let me wash your clothes. Let's go to a restaurant. I'm going to let you choose. Let's spend time together, meals together, conversations together with each other on the journey, shared experiences. Practicing love. See, this is where we get to practice love in those relationships. Purposefully investing our lives in others to help them grow spiritually. See, I think we underestimate the power of these relationships. We underestimate the power. We're so busy with everything else when Jesus just gave us a very simple pattern to follow. Here's what you need to do. Jesus invites all of us in our weakness and inexperience to join him in making disciples. The power comes from him. The power comes from him, the Holy Spirit, as we stay connected. That's our job. We just stay connected to him. And then we stick with people until they get it, until they become wholehearted followers of Jesus. Are we willing to follow his example this year? Jesus loved through forgiveness, compassion, empathy, respect. He valued women and children, lepers, prostitutes, the poor. I am blown away. Again, if we're just talking about, see, we think we just need a loud voice and a big stage, and I see the love of Jesus more in the way my wife just loves on a little baby than I hardly do anywhere else. The sacrifice and the time and the purpose for loving this child and giving them just hope and letting them feel that someone loves them, that there's a connection there, that we care about this child and we pray for this child. See, that is what we're talking about. Faithful, love, serving, compassion. That's who Jesus was. What she's teaching to my daughters, they know a homeless man. His name is Dennis. And they pray for him every time they stop and he comes to the van, and they pray for him every time they see him. They pray for his wife. They give him gifts. They gave him a Christmas gift. They went to the store and bought Christmas gifts to give to Dennis. The heart that she's trying to show my children, that is what we're talking about. Following the example of Jesus just in the small things, in the things that have such an impact. On turning to that person like Chris on that row, you look new here. You look like you need a good meal. And then inviting them to your home. Jesus is the perfect model for loving your neighbor. But here's a question. Has it gone beyond reading the stories to becoming a reality in your life? I know all the things that Jesus did, and man, what a great guy he was. But as you're following him, has that become a part of your life? That's what he wants for you. Through service, laying aside our own rights, laying down his life for his friends. You know, John learned that lesson from Jesus. That's the greatest thing we could do. We could lay down our lives for our friends. Listen to his words in 1 John 3:16. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. I'll walk with you. I'm willing to do whatever. Because this is what life is about. It's about love. Love for God and love for others. So who are those people in your life? Who are you walking with in 2026? Whatever it takes to share God's love. As we close today, there's a video I want us to watch. I think captures the idea of love better than anything I've seen in a long time. So let's just turn our attention to the screen to really understand what love is. Is this the vision for your life? That kind of love, the love that you have received from Christ. I'm willing to share that with anyone and everyone. Who are you walking with? Who are you intentionally walking with in 2026? Let me pray for you.